Okay, let's get started. First, what a great turnout. I want to thank everybody for getting on the call. I've noticed this over the years, and I've mentioned it many times to Ron and to Todd and even many of you, and I've crossed paths that the wrestling officials culture is a tight-knit group. You do a really fantastic job of being collaborative, supporting each other. I think that comes from great leadership, Ron Higdon, Todd Parr, the rest of you that are on the call. So thank you very much. This means a lot. I have a few things that I want to cover, so I'm going to share my screen. And then Ron also has some information that he would like to share with you. I'm hoping that on your screen you now see some total numbers. Ron, is that
Yes.
accurate? Good.
Yep.
So yeah, a quick overview. 285 individuals paid their registration fee to be a registered NSAA wrestling official. Of the 285 that paid the registration fee, 260 individuals did what they needed to do to be classified. Classified means you are now eligible to officiate a varsity contest. You are either approved or certified or an affiliate. So, of our classified officials, 178 did the necessary requirements to be an approved official. 61 of you did what was needed to be done to be certified, and then 21 officials are affiliate officials, which means they did what they were supposed to do in their home state. We then classify them as affiliates in Nebraska. So many of these numbers are up, as you'll notice. We're trending in the right direction. So great work. Appreciate everything that you're doing. Quick reminder, looking at the screen, you must, and I know that I'll say this a little tongue in cheek, you must remember to pay your registration dues every year. It's kind of comical the number of emails I will get from an official claiming that they don't have access to the rules meeting or they don't have access to the Part 1 test. That is because they failed to register. The first thing you must do every year is pay your registration fee. That unlocks your registration process, gives you access to the Part 1 test, the online rules meeting. Those two things must be completed to be an approved official. If you fail to miss or to complete the Part 1 test by the deadline, there's a big window of opportunity to do that. You will then take the Part 2 test as a replacement to the Part 1. You will then be classified as approved. To be a certified official, you must watch the rules meeting, complete the Part 1 test and the Part 2 test, and also need 8 contests from the previous season, and that will classify you as certified. I know many times the number of preceding contests from the year prior isn't accurate. If that's an issue, you can always call me, call Ron, email us. We will get that right. Sometimes it just doesn't work through the process. So we'll make sure we get that right. So if there's not any questions about the registration and classification process, I will move on. Quick reminder, again, we always get a great turnout. So Saturday, August 1st is the official summit in Kearney again. Put that on your calendar. I do want to make reference to the NHSOA, the Nebraska High School Officials Association. The board of directors, you can see there on the screen. Todd serves as the wrestling representative, but he's also done a great job of just representing all officials. John Beggs is on this call tonight. He serves on the board, does a great job of representing swim officials, but the fact that he's willing to sit in on another meeting tonight shows his support of officials across the state as well. So if you have any concerns, any issues, I think you know who to reach out to. Ron, I'm going to turn it over to you now. If there's anything you want to cover before I do, is there anything that the group would like to ask of me of the information we just covered?
I'd like to say that Kelly Clausen, the executive director for the NHSOA, has also joined us. He's a basketball, football official. So I just wanted to thank him and John both for joining our meeting.
Kelly, if you're on the call, do you want to say anything?
I don't. I just want to listen. I respect the wrestling officials. I know how hard they work, and they are a different breed of cat, but I like all of them, so I just want to listen.
Fair enough. Appreciate you, Kelly. Go ahead, Ron.
Well, I want to start by first of all thanking Nate. Nate is our director of officials and has had that position for the last couple of years. And honestly, the attention that we've given our officials and the growth that we have is large, large in part due to Nate's efforts. I think Todd would agree with me, Kelly would agree with me that we've seen significant improvement and growth in all of our officials, and that just doesn't happen by accident. So it's intentional. The things that Nate's doing, the communication that he gives, not only to our officials, but to us as directors, has been fantastic, and he does a fantastic job. Little known fact that Nate and I, we go back a lot of years, don't we, Nate? Probably more than 20 years together. He was also a coach at UNO at the same time I was for a number of years, and then we came to the NSAA at the same time. So I think the number is either 22 or 23 years together. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I stopped counting.
But he does a great
Nice.
job. He's a great friend of mine as well, so that adds to it. We love doing what we do. Some of the things that people don't even see behind the scenes, the amount of effort that he puts into it, deserves commending. So thanks, Nate. Thanks for what you do.
You bet. Thanks, Ron. Happy to help.
Okay, so there's a number of you guys that were just on that 7 o'clock meeting. We went over a number of videos and reviewed some of those, so I'm not going to go over those same ones. I have a different allotment of some videos. There were some, think we had almost 20 officials come out to the summit this last year, and we started going through some video stuff, and we didn't get through all of them. So we're going to go back to that inventory and look at those, and it's kind of you make the call, and it gives us an opportunity to discuss some things. I want to start by going to, and I think Tony Cordova, I think, gave us permission to do this. Hang on just a second. There it is. Um,
Yeah, Tony gives you permission. He's on here too.
all right. I need to get to it first. Okay, so I'm going to show this. This is a video from just this past, it's happened within the last couple of weeks, maybe even this past weekend. So the top guy continues to try to return him, lift him, using his hips and lifting him, bringing him back to the mat. I'm going to open it up. Does anybody see anything wrong with these right here, with these returns? No? Let's compare that to this. Same match, same contestants, same lifting, a little bit different result. All right, so let's watch it again from the beginning. So I'm going to open that up for comments.
Can you replay
Bryce, why
that
don't
first
you
one again,
comment
Ron?
first? Say again?
Can you replay that first video, Ron?
Sure. That's the second one. Hang on a second.
Bryce, Bryce Abbey, Bryce Abbey commented in the chats that leaves his feet.
That's what I was just gonna double check there. It looks like he leaves his feet with intent to forcefully drive him into the mat.
Okay.
Ron, I'll
He's
monitor
also
the
driving
chat.
it.
I'll monitor the chat for you, Ron, if something comes up.
Yep.
He's also driving him towards his head.
Okay, I'm glad somebody said that. Is he driving in towards his head, or is the defensive guy trying to roll here?
Trying to stay without can't do but I couldn't do it. So that sucks. Yeah.
I think the defensive guy kind of was in a bad spot. He looked like he kind of tried to tuck.
Like maybe he was trying to Granby or something. Let's go back to the first one.
Let's make sure we're muted so we can eliminate background noise.
Last time for this one. Lift using the hips, lift it. He's not quite as successful getting him up in the air. Maybe on that one. Second one. So I think there's a mix when Todd and I were talking and he had some conversations going with some officials that were passing this around. What do you guys think?
I think the first video, they seemed fine. In the first one, he kind of landed on his feet and his hands. The second lift, it looks like he kind of landed on his knees and hands. He didn't see him like he landed on his head or on his shoulders, but the second video looks like he kind of hit his shoulder, side of the head, wasn't coming down in. He didn't try to protect himself or he was tucking, but he also, as the offensive wrestler, needed to bring him down in control.
Okay. So what do you say, Doug Hampton there?
So I was there. I thought I agree. They got the call right. No matter if the offensive wrestler was trying to do a Granby and roll through, or the defensive wrestler, sorry, the offensive wrestler still has to have control bringing the wrestler back to the mat. And so I agree with the call. I thought it was spot on. And believe me, when I say I was right at the edge of the mat, I was right there.
Well, the video doesn't show what the call is. I think it shows that he stopped the match, but it didn't really show what the call is. So
Well,
the
I
call,
think, yeah, agree. I mean, the call was a slam. We can kind of all read through the lines, but yeah, I mean, the second one was definitely, it looks more forceful on the return. And that could have been momentum taking them either direction. But as an official, you have to side on caution when it comes to that kind of return.
both of these wrestlers are definitely good wrestlers. If you have somebody that is not quite as skilled as a defensive wrestler in that position and they get thrown in their head, that's an even easier call, I think. Not that this was a hard call. I think and I don't disagree with the call. But I think when you look at the context of the first time and the second time, they're pretty close to each other. The difference is how he landed, and basically kind of on side of his head, neck, which is, like you said, something we have to protect him. So, any other comments on that one?
I had the exact same scenario a week ago Friday at Minden, and I called it a slam. The first two were fine. The kid was trying to roll through, and then the third one, he picked him up just like that, bringing him down. And the kid, I don't know if he was trying to tuck or not, but it was on the same shoulder, side of the head, and it dinged him pretty good.
All right. So I'm gonna share again. I'm gonna go to one that also was sent to me. Bear with me on this one for a second because I gotta.
Do I have to lay down to watch this?
No. I gotta rotate it a couple of times. All right, so here we are on this one. It's kind of small here, but here's, oh, there we go. Let's watch it again. And as you know, these guys at all levels are doing more ankle wrestling, scrambling. One more time before we talk about it. Obviously, from the neutral position. All right, discussion.
Is Joel on?
I don't know.
Okay. The only reason I say that is I had a great talk with
He's
Joel
on.
about. Is he on the video call? Joel, can you walk us through that call for us? What your thought process was?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Joel. Can you walk us
I
through
had
the thought
I had an
process?
earpiece in. I don't know if it was picking up my microphone.
Yeah. So walk us through what
Hold on.
what your thought process was.
Okay, so it's a little choppy here. It's probably just the transmission, but um, he at the beginning of it, he goes in and he gets. Uh, let's see if we can see it from the beginning here. So he's got his left leg there. When he takes him down to the mat, he comes around his other leg. So he's wrapped around both legs. The kid in the black, and the prep kid is on his back. And in real time, as I'm watching this, and I talked to Todd about this on the phone the other day. In real time, when you're focused and lasered in, it seemed like it was moving a lot slower than what it really did when I saw it on video. But I had him with control of both legs. The other kid was on his back. He tries to throw that foot half in right there. And at that point, I thought we had near fall criteria beyond reaction time, so I awarded the 3 and got 1 swipe, and then he rolled out of it. Right when I called 3, he flipped and rolled off his back. So in the moment, I was pretty confident in it. When I saw it on video, I wasn't as confident, and I sent it to a bunch of people for feedback, and I don't know. I did actually talk to both these coaches because I had them in a duel again the other night. And of course, the prep kids or the prep coaches think it's not a takedown. They were cool about it. We had a good discussion. And the Millard South coaches thought at worst, it's a 50-50 call, but they're like, yeah, he tries to pass the leg and he didn't pass it and he's on his back. That's a takedown. And so, of course, they're both going to say that. But I kind of want to see how other officials view this move. So.
Well, I think one of the takeaways from our call, Joel, was the conversation about when the criteria of the takedown, you use the near fall as helping with making the decision on awarding the 3, because I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I recall you explaining to me was that you felt that he held him in that near fall situation past reactionary time, and therefore that was the reason you felt it's time to start giving the takedown. Then our discussion left saying that if like in college, a college official has the luxury of saying danger, and to protect the wrestler from recognizing that, hey, you're in a position that I'm going to start awarding points. You need to consider your position better. But as we all know, in high school, we don't have the benefit of that. So the question that you had asked to me, and I thought was, Joel, are you on the toilet, and is that a shower curtain behind you?
No, it's my window, and I'm not on the toilet.
Okay, because that would be disturbing. Okay, good. I'm glad to see it's not a shower, Joel.
Just the
So
angle of
in
my
all
camera.
seriousness,
I'm at my dining room table.
I don't need to see any lower, Joel, if you're on the toilet.
Yeah,
Just
no,
leave it
we're
up by your head.
good.
Yeah. So in all seriousness, sorry, that was a bad joke. In all seriousness, the question I thought was a great question that ultimately we talked about was, how long are we in near fall before we establish our takedown? And then I think for me, our conversation was, I think you have to establish the criteria of the takedown before you worry about the near fall. And in that scenario, I didn't feel like the criteria of takedown had occurred yet. So that was my opinion to you. So that's just sharing my thoughts. I mean, everything about that, that's about what we talked about, wasn't it, Joel?
Yeah, pretty much. And the only the only thing I can't really wrap my head around, at some point, if he stays in that position on his back, even though he's scrambling and ankle wrestling and whatever, he's on his back. At some point, that's a takedown. You got to get off your back, right? Or wrong. Can you scramble from your back for as long as you want? So at some point, we're giving up near fall here. And without the danger rule like they have in college, at what point is that? And as soon as I called the three, he flopped off his back. I don't know if he was reacting to me. I'm loud. I call three verbally. He might have heard me go three takedown and went, oh shit. And he rolled off his back. Or it could have just been a coincidence in timing where he rolled off his back right about it when I awarded the points. If I had not awarded the takedown, would he have rolled on his back for 1 more second, 2 more seconds, 3 more seconds? And at what point is it then a takedown? So, and like I said, it seemed a lot slower on the mat in real time when I was focused. When I watch it back on video, I was kind of shocked at how much faster it really was than what it felt like in the moment. So,
yeah, well,
that's my takeaway as the official on the mat.
These are two high-end wrestlers. I think we could say they're even collegiate style level.
Yeah.
So they're good at the ankle wrestling. And I don't know how many people watched that Iowa-Nebraska duel the other night, but the amount of scrambling that was occurring with no points being awarded because no one was securing, like I'm just not securing what I have, and so they're just rolling around. That was my takeaway from watching that duel and watching the officials is the level of patience that those the Big Ten officials have. And we've all heard the saying, if it's a takedown now, it'll be a takedown in 2 seconds. So I agree with you. I think he rolls off his back because you awarded the 3 and he realized he was like, oh no, I've just given up my 3. I don't want to give up near fall. Because it felt like when you threw your 3 up, he starts moving again and he got stationary for that split second in there. So I think he felt comfortable on his back thinking they were perpendicular to one another. I mean, trying to watch the video, it's difficult to say what he's thinking, but so that was my takeaway from it. I didn't have a takedown, but I told you that. But I could see how you would award it based on him being on his back and trapped with that foot Nelson in there.
I think the answer to your question, Joel, is you said how long are they there before you give the. I think that they have to meet more than just near fall criteria in that situation because they haven't established control for the takedown yet. So, like Ty, I think Ty did a great job of explaining that. I think over the last several years, wrestling has evolved into more of a total scramble, especially at the higher levels. And the saying, rather be a half second late than a half second early kind of mentality when you're talking specifically about scrambles. So I would say as a collective whole that we want to hold our calls in those situations, not just that, but all scramble situations a little bit more, a little bit longer before you make a definitive decision. There are going to be some times where like the guy was trying to shoot a half with his foot and then he holds him there and then the guy can't get off his back and that's an easy call. You award the 3. Yes. Yes.
That's exactly the scenario that I was thinking. If he uses his foot to create a half Nelson to hold him there, maybe I give it there. I think this is one of those cases where you were a half second too early instead of a half second too late, right? You called it and it's easy and I'll be the first to admit, it's easy for us to judge being able to watch it 10 different times in slow-mo, backwards and forwards. It's easy for us to judge. I think I would have liked to see you wave it off when he rolled out of it. I think that could have been a safe bet. Could you have had it had he held him there? Possibly. I think in the grand scheme of it, I don't think in the end I would have called it. But I don't know, being in the moment, just like with the slam on the last one, I don't know that I called the slam on the last one. But is it the right call after I watch it on video? Absolutely, it's the right call. But it's easy to judge on video. So, but
The
I
the
think if he
one the
holds it
one
with
thing the one thing I can say is I agree with all of that. And just the thing I learned for myself to improve is, and it shocked me, but I felt like everything was moving so much slower in the moment. And I thought that foot half was in there for like a second, second and a half. And it was in there for like a half a second. It was quick. He put it in and it flipped right back out. So my takeaway for myself is going to be to try to mentally slow down in those intense moments and make, just try to get I don't know, it's a perception of time thing, but I learned that when I'm focused and I'm in the moment, that it's kind of like in a car accident when things slow down. That's what it felt like. It just seemed like it was so much slower than what it really was. So I need to figure out a way to mentally adjust to that in the future for myself. But yeah, I agree with everybody who says it was probably a little too quick. I can see that on video. So
To add some context to that, that's called a Winn-Dixie.
yeah,
And that's one of the reasons why they implemented that neutral danger call in college. And I had the same call up at Madison. I think Ron and Todd, you were there in the finals for that match. Kid ran the Winn-Dixie, and for a consistency piece, like you said, Joel, 100%. Once you get to that level, things just slow down for you on the mat. And I've caught myself doing that, and I sent some video off to some guys, and they said there is no neutral danger call in high school, but there's no reason why you can't count it in your head. And
right.
that gives you that time frame. Whether you say danger one, danger two, danger three in your head, or you can use does he got it? Does he got it? Does he got it? Okay, if you can go in that segment to be consistent in your head, that generally is long enough, and you can argue
Yeah.
that there was restraining power in that situation. And that's helped me tremendously in those situations is finding something in that consistency and timing to hold those calls.
Yep.
I'm going to go to the next one then. Thanks, guys. James, you okay with me showing this one?
Yeah.
Am I going slow motion here on?
The 49-second clip is the slow motion one. Yes.
Okay.
I think
So
maybe it's just at that such high of level of wrestling, Ron, that everything is just slow.
So walk us through this, James.
Uh, in real time, I just, I didn't feel like the takedown was secured. Curtis and I were talking about, last night after I made the call, it just felt very loose. Loose is meaning there wasn't much control. There wasn't control on the hips. Looking at that, maybe if that near side of hand was down, in that situation, you probably could have whipped, maybe see a chin whip or some sort of whip action there where he hips over, whatnot. It's not like a Merkel where he has the inside leg hooked. If he would have had the inside leg hook, I'd probably give takedown there. Or if that right hand's down a little bit, maybe I'm giving takedown. But in that situation, I didn't feel like there was any restraining power or any control. So I didn't award a takedown there. And he was out, he was out by maybe 2 inches after that return. And then his left foot came back in. So, I mean, there's two situations where it was really close takedowns in a short clip here. But I didn't award takedown on either one.
One more time, and then anybody else comment. Childers, you were there, right?
Yep.
What do you think?
So I am sitting nearest, like I'm right where James is walking towards here at the very end. I'm at the head table just sitting watching. So in real time,
like James said, I actually used the term loose. Like his left hand, which is around the back, doesn't get down into the crotch like a spiral ride. It doesn't even hook the hip. It's very loose, which is also why, in my opinion, the kid was able to come directly back to his feet. Battle Creek's coaches were kind of fixated on the fact that he was behind both arms. Well, yeah, he was, but if your hips aren't connected and if you're not really covering his hips, it's tough to have control. And then obviously the out of bounds part, if you slow it down, you can see James is in good position there and makes a really good call. But I thought it was a good call in real time. And obviously, I was the minority sitting at the table thinking it was a good call amongst all of my Battle Creek people, but that's okay.
All right, so those are two really good ones, and I want to thank all three of you guys for your willingness to share your matches and right or wrong. Putting yourself out there is commendable. I really appreciate it. I mean, I think it's beneficial to the entire group. There's a few things that we're gonna watch here. And I think so it says, ask the question at the end here. So I think it's an example of, and not waiting for there's a couple of really good ones in here. You see this all the time now. This is exactly what James is talking about. Not only does he have him on his back, but he establishes control and then he starts counting. So in this situation, I don't know what the time frame is, but I think that probably in the mind of the official, he's counting in his own mind because he's keeping the kid on his back, gives a reversal, starts counting near fall.
It was 3 seconds on the clock time, Ron.
So maybe in his own mind, he's doing the neutral danger call from the college. Um, I think that this is how we got to look at it. Is it a scramble? Yes. The fact that he's on his back and doesn't come off his back gives the control and then therefore gives the near fall. If they're in the scramble and he's not on his back and still has the leg, you obviously don't. I don't think that you give a takedown on that. But any comments on that one?
So.
And I mean, that one looked like he actually had him secured. You can kind of tell he kind of secured his head. He didn't figure four, but he put pressure back on it and held him there for long enough. I had 3 seconds as well, just counting. And so I would have called the reversal and start counting near fall or takedown or whatever they were in.
It feels like he trapped him and caught him in a
Yeah.
position of near fall and demonstrating he's in control past reactionary time.
Yeah, it looked like he couldn't get away. So
All right, so let's watch this one again from right here. Looks like this referee. All right, so if we stop it right here, stops right there. I think he's behind the hips, underneath the arm. I think the question is reaction time. So this official let it go, felt like it wasn't beyond reaction time. Then he gets to the whizzer in, step out of bounds. You guys think that was the right call?
I would have said the same thing. No takedown, reaction time.
No.
It was so quick. He wasn't down there for maybe a second at all.
Yep. So right here.
Ron, do you see Bryce's comment in the
No.
chat?
No, what's he say?
Not beyond reaction time.
Agreed. I agree with that one.
I'm gonna, when you talk about reactionary time in those types of situations, you have to have an internal clock, and you have to decide what is your internal clock. But the primary takeaway is on your internal clock, it needs to be slow. And I know in big matches, you get excited and your internal clock speeds up, and that's something to think about. I think that official did a nice job. I didn't see a lot of weight bearing on the hands. I thought he elevated himself back out of the situation with his hips. And I definitely don't know if I would think that was reactionary for myself. I could see it being awarded. I don't know if I would have agreed with it, but I could see it. It's definitely a 50-50. So that when I try to break that thing down in my head, that's the type of thing I'm looking for.
Yep. All right, this is a great one to watch. We had a question this last week about a move called the assassin, and doesn't really, it ends up in the same position. Obviously, looks like the kid got choked out there. Rulebook states that all headlocks are potentially dangerous, so the assassin itself as a move is not illegal. When you get to the point where, right here,
Right there, yeah. And the
right there.
assistant's late to the party there too.
Yep. And I also think that you have tools in your box that you can use to keep you from getting this position where you're going to get yourself in trouble. Call potentially dangerous before you get to this point. I mean, if we back up a little bit, I think these are starting right here. These are swipeable back points. I think you got to watch it a little close, like right here. It doesn't take long to completely shut off the air.
So say you've already awarded 2 or 3 back points, and then he rotates his hip in like that, becomes potentially dangerous. You still keep that 2 or 3 back points, award that, and then call potentially dangerous and move on, correct?
That is correct. And when you go, I think it's your job as an official in this situation to stop it potentially, because choking them in this fashion is actually illegal. So before they get there, or as they get right there, that's when you use your tools to call potentially dangerous to keep yourself out of trouble and protect the kids. I don't know that this what they called. I don't think that they called it illegal or anything, but obviously in this scenario, the kid's out.
Yeah, it looked like if he would have kept that arm, it would have prevented him from choking him. But he lost the bottom kid's arm, and it went straight underneath his neck.
Yep.
And then when he pushed his head up against him, he choked him out immediately.
I think the assistant official sees him go limp right there and steps in, but it was a little too late.
Yeah. I could actually see in that scenario the referee saying that it was a choke and actually starting recovery time. I mean, if I don't know what the call is at the end of this, if it's potentially dangerous, you still award the points. But I could see that being called a choke by once they confer, because he's clearly chokes him right there, and that's where the assistant's late to the party. But and I could see that being recovery time and not injury time as well.
A penalty, right? Three,
Yeah,
whatever
and
back
then
points
at
you
that
had,
point,
then penalty, and then
yeah. But I do
Yeah.
think you have the near fall for the two strokes where it wasn't illegal. Then it goes to illegal, so there's a penalty point, and then because he's an obstructed airway and he's out, then it becomes recovery time, and which obviously is going to go to concussion protocol because he's out. You're going to have to tell the trainer pretty confident you're going to have to share your opinion of I think the wrestler was out for a blackout second, making the trainer aware of that so they can go through the right protocols. Those are all things that could have occurred in this situation. I don't. Do we know what they called, Ron?
No.
Well, then let's assume the worst, and that's probably what they did.
Did he call a pin there before he stopped the
No.
match there?
No. He called the assistant official stepped in and then the other official blew the whistle. But no, he did not call a fall.
I have a
Ron?
question.
Yeah.
A couple seconds here, real quick, Bryce. Sorry to interrupt. In the chat, one individual said, I'm calling that illegal when he drops his near hip and arches his back. There was also a comment, if he chokes him, it is illegal.
That's deep thinking right there. Who said that?
You can see the chat.
Oh, thanks, Dale.
Hey, to go a little step further in there, Ron, just that way we're all on the same page going into postseason with an unconscious wrestler like that, like choked out. If there's appropriate healthcare professionals there versus not there, might be good to cover that.
That was my question. If it's a choke in this scenario, is that head neck scenario? Because it's a choke, not a concussion.
Well, he's out. Isn't he concussed when he's out?
Joel here. I have a question on this too.
If he's physically out, you can see he's out.
Right, but that's not a concussion.
Isn't that a definition?
Did you have a concussion after Higdon choked you out?
Yeah, I should have got a 5-minute recovery. I absolutely.
I'm not saying you don't get recovery.
I should have known
You didn't have a concussion.
I should have known they had nothing to do with the match. You're just an asshole.
He didn't even know Ryder was there.
Yeah, I was out.
But
Dude, I was out as fast as that kid. Although I didn't tap. I'm just saying.
So
can we talk about losing consciousness because I think going into postseason, like James said, that is good. But real quick, there's a girl for Millard West who I guess she has sports-induced asthma and she forgets to breathe sometimes and she passes out in the middle of the matches. She like literally loses consciousness for not breathing. What's the protocol for loss of consciousness during a match? They just shook her back to life and she came back and wrestled and I was like, holy crap, I've never seen this before. So what is the loss of consciousness protocol?
So there's two different female wrestlers that have two different separate conditions that we have been made aware of. Both of them are medical conditions with that type of scenario. Passing out, and Bryce is exactly right. Just because you're out doesn't mean you're concussed. If you're thrown on your head and you're knocked out, or if you're head butted and you're knocked out, that's different. If you're choked out, that's not considered concussed. But it is head, neck, cervical for appropriate healthcare professional to be able to call that. So to answer your question, I think that seeing stars and maybe on the choke side of it, you have to make a judgment call where you think that kid is eligible to go anymore. On the concussed side, if there's not an appropriate healthcare professional, state law says that until they are released by an appropriate healthcare professional, if they are suspected of a concussion, they have to be pulled. So if you're an official, and I'm hopeful that none of the postseason stuff none of the districts, and we know none of our state competitions go without an appropriate healthcare professional, then if that's not available to you and you feel like it's concussed, you have to pull them. You have to. That's state law. If you don't pull them, you become liable because of the statute, and that's what you don't want. Err on the side of caution on that one. But state law also states that athletic trainers are considered in this instance an appropriate healthcare professional and can release them to compete, whether it's right there on the mat during the recovery time or during the head neck the H&C time, or if they come off the mat or get removed from a match, get evaluated, it's determined that they're not concussed by that athletic trainer, they can come back in that same competition and compete. But there's a mixture of HNC, which is NFHS wrestling rules, and state statute, which says if you're suspected of a concussion, you have to be cleared. So does that make sense?
And they have to be hired by the school, correct? Not some parent that claims they're a doctor.
Correct. And not just the host school. If a school brings their athletic trainer with them, yes. But if somebody comes out and says, I'm a paramedic, I'm a doctor, I'm a nurse, and all that evaluation stuff has to be not on the mat. The only ones that can be on the mat are appropriate healthcare professionals that are with the competition itself, whether it's an athletic trainer for that school or the host athletic trainer for the school that's hosting the event. The other healthcare professionals, unless they would have to sign a medical release form. The form is not a standard form. It can be any form. They can sign them off, but they can be released by a medical professional through a medical release form. I think that that's very important because over in the Council Bluffs Classic, a kid got concussed. I watching the video, I think it was pretty evident that he was concussed. The official, the coaches of the kid, the coaches of the other kid, and the event itself all were named in a lawsuit with that kid, and that was probably 3 or 4 years ago. But we have to be cognizant of it, so be careful. But Bryce is exactly right. Getting choked out does not constitute being concussed.
So just question on that same scenario. So hypothetically, let's say he called the fall right there, and that was a pin. So then the correct way to go about that is assistant official stop before the pin, have that discussion, call it no pin, one illegal move, and then if that wrestler doesn't return to participate, then that wrestler wins, and the offensive wrestler in that situation loses the match. Would that be correct?
I think it depends on what you end up calling.
Yeah.
You have your discussion with your assistant official. The lead official in that, I don't think was looking at the choke side of it at all. And maybe that he wasn't doing that because he had an assistant official. But once you have the opportunity to converse, you have the ability to make either the call, whether it be a fall or you come back, have the discussion with your assistant official, determine that it was illegal, and then take the proper steps there. Again, illegal, recovery time, 2 minutes. They can't continue after 2 minutes. The match is called.
Yeah, that's a good call out because I've had a couple times, even at state tournament a couple years ago, when I called a slam, the coaches wanted, I had recovery time, they wanted head and neck. And if you have recovery time, that's all you get is 2 minutes. You don't get the head and neck. So just be mindful of that. I've had that a couple times this year. I had to explain to coaches, you only get the 2 minutes. That's it.
That's a great point. And the reason for that is because the wrestler that had the infraction, the one that was the offensive wrestler, and I say offensive because maybe we're talking about a slam. You start recovery time. Appropriate healthcare professional comes out to evaluate them. They don't know the rules. They're asking for head neck. And you have to inform them they only get 2 minutes recovery time because you're not going to give the offending wrestler additional time than what the recovery time is, because recovery time is 2 minutes, HNC is 5. So you're not going to give extra time for that injured wrestler to recover to maybe be able to continue. you're giving the advantage to the offensive guy, the guy that did the offense. So it's only 2 minutes. It's not the 5 minutes. As opposed to injury time. Injury time is a minute and a half. They ask for HNC. That minute and a half, whatever time is spent for that, goes over to HNC time. You have 5 minutes of that, and then your injury time goes back to 0 in that scenario. And then the next injury, if it's head, neck, cervical, the match is over. Any questions on that?
That HNC time does not count for your first injury time, correct? I think we've had some debate on that before.
No, it's still an injury. Absolutely. It's still an injury.
As far as on the second injury time, the opponent gets choice of position, it counts as one of those?
That is correct.
We have not been calling it that way.
It's still, I mean, it's a head or neck injury. It's still an injury. Whether you're using your injury time, head, neck, cervical is a different form of injury time. The wrestler is still injured. So if he gets injured and he hurts his knee the next time, you stop it, give injury time, but that's actually the second time you had to stop the match because the wrestler was injured. So yes, that is the second injury time.
I believe that contradicts the way we've understood it up to this point, so that's good to know.
So just for clarification, going back to that scenario, when that kid got choked out, if you're saying that it's not concussion protocol and the trainer comes over and asks for head, neck, cervical, I mean, do you tell them no because it was a choke and that's not technically a concussion, or how do you go about that whole process?
It depends on what you end up with the call. It depends on the call. If you call something illegal, it's recovery time. If you just say it was incidental and it just happened and you give the points, then you don't. I don't know what they end up calling. I would venture to say that they might have called it an illegal move, so it would have been recovery time. However, if they didn't and they just stopped it because there was, and maybe they called potentially dangerous when it was all done, so they start the injury time and see if he can continue. Because it looked to me like he didn't call a fall.
The pro move is to call the fall, and you've avoided the whole problem, and then you give him as long as he needs to recover on the mat.
Yeah, you have more than 5 minutes. You have 30 at the minimum.
I might be, I don't want to put words in Stone's mouth, but I think he might have been asking, like, if they ask for HNC, are we to pretty much always grant it, or is there any scenarios where we as the officials can say no, this isn't HNC? Like, is a choke out an HNC?
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Illegal. Only if you call it illegal. Like you can't. What Wynn was saying was, if you have an illegal move, they can't have more than the 2 minutes. So even if the illegal move is head, neck, cervical,
say it's not illegal. Say it's not illegal. Say it's a potentially dangerous and a guy gets choked out, but we didn't call it an illegal move.
HNC 5 minutes.
Okay, so if they ask for HNC, we're going to give it. We're not going to say no. This particular, we don't have the training or the knowledge to say this is not HNC. If the trainer asks for it, we grant it.
Right.
Okay.
In that scenario, but Joel, if he called that illegal and he called it a choke,
right? I understand that part.
Scenario. Right.
Right. As long as it's not an illegal move.
Recovery, yeah. I always tell the coaches, do you want to win after 2 minutes or do you want to win after 5 minutes? And they say 2 minutes every time. That makes it clear to them. They're like, oh, yeah, why would I give an extra 3 minutes? Yes. So I get that part. But yeah.
Quick question, if I may, in the chat. Can the correct healthcare personnel call HNC on a chokeout?
As long as you don't call it illegal.
Correct.
So does that also go for a pass out as well with these wrestlers? Like you see a lot of girls wrestlers hold their breath and make themselves pass out. Can the correct personnel call agency on that as well? Then,
if the answer to that is yes, because they're trained for that. I don't know that most of them would in those scenarios. The Miller West girl, and I think I can't remember where the other girl was from.
Omaha North.
I had this situation happen with a Ralston wrestler yesterday, so that's why I asked.
If that Omaha North girl doesn't take her medicine, it could be 18 minutes before she comes back to life. The athletic trainer this last weekend told me she almost hooked up the AED until the mom told her on the phone that she has this sort of medical condition.
There's another one too. Then there's Omaha North is one, Miller West is one, but there's another one out western part.
Neely Oakdale. I was just reading the
Neely,
article on that.
Neely
She has that
Oakdale.
not compartment syndrome, but she has somewhere she has a lot of pain and could pass out or paralysis.
Yeah, paralysis and she can't move and you can't touch her.
Yep.
Had a Skylar girl do the same thing.
So with these instances, the second one they're done, right? If they pass out twice in the match, because that's 2 HNC times, right?
Right.
If the healthcare professional requests HNC, then yes.
Right. They have to
Yeah.
call HNC, but Seward had a girl that would just randomly pass out a couple years ago. I saw that firsthand a couple times. She would just be there and all of a sudden she would pass out and then she'd wake up and she'd try to wrestle again and she'd pass out again. But it didn't seem safe, but I mean the coach knew it.
Yeah, and we had one at state tournament last year, and their parents were just like, we want her to have as normal a life and do everything that everybody else does as well. But I mean, they said that the doctor told them that the medical condition is not life-threatening. Like what happens to them is not detrimental to it's not going to make them worse because they're wrestling. So they want their kid to wrestle. They want their kid to participate. Who thought girls wrestling was a good idea anyway? Just kidding. Well, we're right at an hour, guys. I want to be respectful of your time, and I honestly really, really appreciate the guys that are on here. The feedback that we got, the participation in the comments that we got is fantastic. Nate, I see 41 plus a couple that are sharing. So wrestling won, just so you know.
I agree. Let me wrap up with saying this is great. Very impressive conversation, humble conversation, which I think is impressive. Guys that are willing to admit where they're wrong, admit what they don't know, admit to appreciating the feedback goes a long ways. So good work by everybody. Let's finish the season strong. I know Ron has said it a million times. I know he communicates weekly with you. Finish strong. This is the most emotional time of the year. We deal with it across all of our sports. Fan and spectator issues will become more and more of an issue. I would ask and recommend that you let the administration of the host site deal with those issues. Do not get involved. Try to de-escalate as much as possible. If you have an issue with a fan, turn it over to the administration and de-escalate that. Also want to mention our ejections are extremely low this year, Ron, aren't they? Very few. So I think that's a good thing.
Dude.
Nah, it's fine. And I think it's because we're doing a great job of officiating. Our coaches and our wrestlers are doing a good job. But yes, if they do increase, it's because it's that time of year. Kids care less when there is no tomorrow. And they don't care if they get penalized or ejected. So we have to keep our head. We have to make good decisions, and you will. I trust in all of that. Absolutely. So I'm going to wrap things up. I thought it was a great meeting. Maybe the real low point was when we referenced a toilet and a shower curtain. So I'm glad we moved on from that quickly.
Way to go, Todd.
Beyond that, great meeting. Anything else to add from Todd or Ron?
I'm looking at the chat, right?
Yeah, Doug just brought up something about the St. Paul guy or girl, the hearing issue.
So there's 2 instances where I had to give accommodations to wrestlers, and that is a coach having a hearing or having like a microphone that the deaf wrestler has a hearing device inside their headgear. In both cases, the wrestlers are basically almost completely deaf. Our legal counsel said that we need to grant those. So we did grant them. But they both have letters from me that they're supposed to show to the officials. So if you see that, there's 2 of them. If you see that, then they should have a letter. So if they don't have the letter, then don't let them do it.
Good stuff. Anything else before I wrap it up and let everybody get on with their night? Perfect.